Hey, welcome to the Straight Sports Podcast. We're your hosts, Tushar, and
Joshua.
in this podcast, we give our opinions on our favorite sports, which are basketball, soccer, and wrestling.
So, topic one, basketball. This is a tweet from Adrian Wojnarowski. Speaking on Paul George and his injury, it says, George is expected to be out for the rest of the regular season's 9 games, but his timeline for a possible return in the playoffs will be clearer when he's reevaluated. And it says that he's set to be evaluated from his sprained knee in approximately 2 to 3 weeks. So now that we know that Paul George is expected to miss the rest of the regular season, and we are not sure about when he will return exactly come playoff time, do you think the Clippers can still compete for a championship without Paul George, or is the season over?
Joshua. I'm watching the Clippers play basketball. Obviously, we've added a lot of new pieces. And first of all, that injury looks so scary, so gruesome. So I'm
Yeah,
happy
it
to hear
did.
that it wasn't as bad as it looked. I think the Clippers definitely or for the Clippers organization, this is like the best possible news they could have heard. When I saw that injury, I thought, okay, he's probably out for the season. Like I really thought, look, okay, he's gonna miss the playoffs. Like this is it. That's the end of it. So I'm grateful. Obviously, I'm really sad that he got injured. He was playing at a great level. He was an all-star player. He was there for the Clippers this season, and for this injury to happen, and he's always been talking about just being healthy, healthy, healthy. This team's been healthy, and it feels like the Clippers are just cursed when it comes to this type of stuff. But to answer the question, I think it's simple as this: if Paul George, we know his playoff return potential, assuming the Clippers are in the playoffs. If Paul George does not return, let's say he doesn't, because it didn't say definite when he's returning. If he doesn't return the playoffs, the Clippers cannot compete for a championship. Can they win a first round matchup? That's up for grabs. Maybe it depends on the opponent, and it depends on the West. We look at the Western Conference. Now we look at right now the Suns. Kevin Durant's expected to be back soon. You have the Lakers. LeBron James is not right now not playing. You have Dallas. You got Kyrie. He's hurt. There's a lot of injuries kind of in the West. Zion with the Pelicans. So the West is kind of open right now. So it's kind of hard to say. Just depends on who they match up. But knowing if assuming everybody's healthy, they need PG to win a championship. Could I see them making the playoffs? Yes, of course. But if they want to win the whole thing, they need Paul George. Without Paul George, there's definitely I don't think they have a real chance to really win a championship.
Um, I have to 100% agree. I mean, like we said before, I think Paul George is the X factor to this team competing at the highest level, and with him not being there, and potentially him not being 100% going into the postseason, that's not a good sign.
Mm.
And I do not think that in Paul George's absence, this team cannot compete for a championship at all. Can they even get out the first round without Paul George? That's what I want to see because I don't think they can either, to be honest. Kawhi can't do it all, bro. He can't. He has to have some help from the likes of Norman Powell, Russ as well, but is that enough to beat a first round matchup, which will be a tough matchup because there are a lot of good teams stacked together. So any matchup they get, I think, will be a tough matchup, especially without Paul George. So for me, if Paul George isn't playing, bro, and he's not 100% for the season, in my opinion, just write off the season, bro, because like
I'm not gonna
it's
go that
done.
far, but
No, you
if he
have to
returns, if he
because
returns, there's
yeah,
always a chance.
if he returns, then it's sure
Yeah,
play, dude. Then he won't even be 100%, so you don't even know what you'll be getting there. But if he
yeah.
doesn't come back in time,
80% Paul George is better than having nothing. So
I mean that's fair. But in my opinion, bro, like y'all have too much like unfortunate things happen to this team. This in the key stretches of the regular season, he picks up a
mhm.
bad injury. We know Kawhi is still load managing to prevent his injuries from reoccurring, and it's just not the great situation, especially now of all times when you need to finish strong to kind of boost your team in the standings a bit because as we know it's all stacked together, so a few losses can send you literally out
Playing,
of playoff
yes,
contention.
yeah. Out even
So
making the play in, which means
yeah,
no
yeah,
playoffs.
yeah. So it's very tough. I feel like it's a bad stretch of luck for the Clippers, man. I wish Paul George the best. Never wish injury on no player, and I hope
Definitely
that
not. It looks
this
so
Clippers
severe. It
team
really reminded me of
can
Giannis's
compete.
injury in when he
Yeah, it
was
looked
in
bad.
in the
I'm not gonna
Eastern
lie, it looked
Conference
really
Finals.
bad.
That hyperextension. Giannis had that kind of severe injury, and a lot of people looked at it as like, man, Giannis not coming back. But
Yeah,
Giannis was built different. He came
he's
back.
different.
And I'm not saying Paul George is not built different. He's come back through the biggest injury we know, the Olympics with the leg. That was
Yeah,
a very injury that he came back and he's the player that he still is. I mean, that says a lot about him. So I believe, he could come back strong, but it's unfortunate because, like I said, we all we know is he's gonna be reevaluated. That doesn't guarantee he's returning or when
that's
he's gonna
true.
return. And we know if he's missing the regular season, another thing is he'll probably miss the play-in if the Clippers fall into that. But
That's true.
we're about to, I think, speak on that. So I'm gonna elaborate in a little bit.
Yeah, but real quick, like you said,
Mm.
first round matchup. What first round matchup do you think that they could be, or which teams do you think they could be without Paul George there, if he's not
Like
going to
if
be
they
there?
they can win maybe.
Yeah, yeah, win. Yeah,
That's
like
tough
what matchup could
because
they win
that's
in
because
theory?
because like if you first of all let's look at all the possibilities. Right now they're fifth. I mean maybe
Yeah,
people might expect them to drop or not. But right now they're fifth. Let's say it stays as it is. They'd play the Suns in the first round. They got KD and Booker,
yeah, it's
and
not good.
KD's expected to be back by the end of March or early April. So if KD's with KD, Book, and just Kawhi, that's not enough. I don't think they have a real shot there.
Yeah,
As long as if Paul George is, that's different. Now we look if they're six, they probably play Sacramento. Now that's interesting because we look at Sacramento and the Clippers that played, we saw that triple overtime game.
yeah,
And the Kings won. We seen them obviously play when Kawhi, I think it was just PG, and it was PG there and Russ, and then they only lost by one. The only thing I could think about the Clippers having a better chance of beating Sacramento than the Suns is because of the playoff experience. They don't have as much. So I don't think De'Aaron Fox ever been in the playoffs. Sabonis has in Indiana very minorly. Barnes has the most. It's just a less playoff experience, so that's the team. But Sacramento's very well coached. Mike Brown has some, definitely playoff experience. He's won championships just last year as assistant coach. So it was a tough matchup. Then you look if they fell down. I mean, if they play Memphis. That's an interesting matchup. Again, Memphis has a
yeah.
really good team, but they have a lot of injuries as well.
That's true.
I think I think for the Clippers, obviously, if a team like they play the Suns and there's no Paul George and it's KD Book, that's not feasible for them to win.
Yeah,
If it's Sacramento, I think they got a shot. But again, it's just because Sacramento doesn't have playoff experience, but Sacramento's is a really good team. They'd be tough out, especially without Paul George.
yeah,
And if it's Denver in the first one with no Paul George,
yeah.
then
It's over.
I better just say no comment on that because that's not looking good. Denver owns the Clippers, so
Yeah, it'll
without
be
Paul
over.
George, it'd be very difficult to win championships. Now you need two guys. You need two guys on your team. You need both. You need every team is loading up. You got the Suns, they got Booker, KD. You got Dallas, got Luca, Kyrie. Assuming everybody's healthy. Lakers, LeBron, AD. I mean, Sacramento has De'Aaron Fox and Sabonis. I mean, all these teams have dynamic duos.
So since the West is very tight at the moment,
Mhm.
do you think the Clippers, who are currently fifth in the West, will drop and fall into the play-in tournament, or do you think that they might even miss the play-in?
So obviously there's a chance because you lose a couple of games. I think the margin for error is very little. I think they're like what 3 games of being out the play-in. If they go
Yeah,
on a losing streak, they could clearly be out the play-in. So they gotta take care of business and win those games. And their schedule's not easy. The thing is, you could talk about teams that they're playing. Maybe they're better on paper, but all the teams that they're really playing, the Pelicans, I think playing OKC, the Lakers, they even playing the Suns, like they play the Bulls, right? There's some teams like that. So these all teams are playing for something, whether they're all playing like, to be in the play-in or for playoff positioning. So their schedule's going to be difficult. But if you ask me, I don't think they're going to fall out entirely in the play. I think they're going to handle their business. I do think it's going to be very neck and neck. Um, so I do think they'll still be in the playoffs. And it's just whether about Paul George returning, but like I said, they got to take care of business because if they, lose a couple and they could be 8, 9, 10. So they got to really every game matters. And we know I know with Kawhi, not too sure about him. We know again
yeah.
his back to back situation. I don't think he'd play back to
Every game
back, and I
matters, huh?
understand. Again, I maybe you think because I'm biased and I'm a Kawhi fan, kind of understand that he's not going to play.
You gotta be biased, bro.
Um,
Okay, bro.
but
Let me
I
interject real quick, bro. This stretch of games could be the decider between you making the playoffs or like like it could be the decider of you being eliminated from playoff contention. And you're telling
I
me it's
feel
okay
like
with them
I
missing
feel like
games?
I feel like
Be
it
real,
maybe
bro.
maybe if you look at the Clippers, I do think they have only two back to backs left. So they have what 9 games, and that's two potential games missed.
And
I
what if we
think
lose both of those games
so. That's tough, but
that he
I don't know
misses?
what he's going to decide to do. I think he ultimately he might consider playing. It just
I
depends
think
on
he's still
how the
sitting out.
situation is. But I'm leaning towards the fact that he'll sit out, but we'll see what happens because I think they have one back to back. They play Memphis. After Memphis, they play the Pelicans. Could the Pelicans be out by then? Could that change his opinion? Then you have one. They play the Blazers, and then it's the Suns. He might sit out the Blazers one and play against Phoenix, since the Blazers might be as well on the way out. So it's interesting. I don't know what he's gonna decide to do, but regardless, these 9 games are the biggest 9 games of for the Clippers. And I'll say one thing: I think the one thing we could speak about Kawhi, because people are concerned. I think this is his moment to kind of remind the world, like, I'm that great. I could get my Clippers into being in the top 6. He could do that. I believe in that man.
Top 6 is showing his greatness. That's
Well,
showing his
the
greatness in
West is
top
tight. There's
6.
only 9
Come
games
on,
left.
bro.
He can't go number
Come on,
1. They're
bro.
they're in a position they could at best get fourth, and that's probably not happening. What I'm saying to you is that, because you're talking about, I think you're leaning towards maybe them being pushed into the play, and I think he's great enough by himself to figure by himself as the lone star. Obviously, he has a lot of talent around him, that he can make the Clippers stay in the top 6 and not have to go into the play. Because if the Clippers go into the play, most likely Paul George will probably not play, and you do not want to be in the play. It's a 1-game elimination. Anything can happen. What if they're in the play and their first matchup is the Mavericks? Luka, Kyrie, both there. That's not.
That's true.
That's not. That's not good. It's 1 game, you never know. So the Clippers mindset should just be get in the top 6, whether it's fourth, fifth, sixth. I think fifth and sixth is most likely. Get in there and then just worry about the rest later. Just get into the top 6. That's all they really need to do. And Kawhi Leonard is going to lead them. They're going to remind the world.
Yeah. Well, like you said, the margins are slim, and I bet he wishes like he had played some of those games that he sat out. In this stretch, those games count. Those losses that they picked it why he wasn't playing, they matter. But with that being said, and the West being as tight as it is, I think that the Clippers will slip into the play-in. I'm not going to go as far as to say that they will be out of playoff contention. I think that's too far because I know the brilliant coach that Tyler is, and I know that what he has done before when his stars were hurt, he still had a pretty successful season. So I will say, with my belief in Ty Lue and the fact that I know Kawhi is an elite offensive talent, defensively he's no slouch, but he's not the player he once was. But I do believe that this team will drop
He's
to the
still I
play-in.
think we could agree he's still the same player offensively. Are you just talking about
Yeah, he
defense?
is. He is obviously, yeah,
Okay,
he is.
okay.
But I think this team will slip into the play-in.
Mhm.
That's as far as I'll say. I'm not gonna go any lower because I think that's unrealistic, and I feel like there'll be a play-in team.
Mm. And also, we're gonna see who comes right with who's maybe more right, or we both might be wrong on this. We never know. But I
Yeah,
think you have Clippers. They have 9 games left. You have them going 5-4
yeah.
in those 9 games, and I have them going 6-3. So let's see who's on. All right, I'm hoping they go 9-0. Right, Josh?
Delusional. That's all I can
Oh,
say,
here
bro.
we go. If they do, oh man, I can't wait to come back on this
You
episode
didn't
and
believe
talk.
that. You didn't even predict that, so you don't think it's
I mean,
happening.
I said 6-3 based on kind of back to backs, all the stuff I was taking into account and on all that, but we'll see what happens.
So wait, so if Kawhi would have played all the games, you would have said what?
I don't know, because like I said, every game, like for example, they're playing that Memphis two
Yeah.
times back to back. I don't know about that. Like, I think they could win one of those. They're playing the
Okay, that's
Suns the
fair.
last game of the season. That's gonna be tough. So like, I still think they'll lose a couple. That's just an opinion, because obviously, would I love to win 9? If they had PG, I'd probably say 9-0, but they don't got PG.
I mean, that's fair.
Yeah. But obviously, devastating move with Paul George. I'm happy it wasn't as worse as it looked. So sad that he's hurt, but speedy recovery to PG, man. I want to see him back out there. And man, this Clippers curse is real, man. It's just injury. I mean, the first year was the only one. The first year, inexcusable, right? Choke 3-1 to Denver. Second year,
Yep.
Kawhi gets hurt in the second round. Still, so somehow Paul George, Terrence Mann, and Ty Lue, everybody finds a way to get to the conference finals. Um, and then obviously they just didn't have Kawhi, so they lose to Phoenix. They lost in 6. The third year, just Kawhi's out the whole year. It's just they've been just cursed with these kind of injuries, and now it looks like everything's going well. Everybody's healthy, and then PG's news towards the end of the season. So this is a big blow for the Clippers, man. Yeah. So now, obviously, we are going to predict how we think the NBA standings will shape out, both in the Eastern and the Western Conference. So obviously, we know like the standings are how it is. But we're just gonna kind of, like again, just reiterate, just gonna predict kind of how it's gonna officially stand out, how what's gonna be the exact order, just a prediction. So let's start off with the NBA Eastern Conference and give me your 1 through 6 seed, Josh. Who are the 6 teams that avoid the play-in?
So for the East, my list is I have the Bucks as the 1 seed.
Okay.
The 2 seed is the 76ers. I feel like they're on a pretty high
76ers.
run right now. I mean,
Okay.
they're not that far behind the Celtics, and Embiid's playing extremely, extremely well at the moment, as he's been
Okay.
all season. But I
Okay.
feel like they can just edge the Celtics.
Okay.
Three Celtics, four Cavs,
Mm-hmm.
five Knicks, and six Heat.
Heat. Okay. Josh, personally, I almost agree with your whole list. I have only two differences. So at number one, I have the Milwaukee Bucks. I gotta agree. I mean, they've been balling, and they're 2.5 games ahead of Boston. So I don't think Boston will catch them. And number two, I got the Celtics. I do think because of the schedule, I think more favorable of the schedule. That's why I put them at number two. And number three, I put the 76ers, even though the 76ers could get the number two seed and they're
Yeah,
only, a half a game behind. The only reason I didn't put the 76ers two that you put, if you look, they have one of the toughest like schedules remaining. I mean, look at this. They're gonna play the Warriors, then the Suns, then the Nuggets, then the Mavericks. They're gonna play the Bucks again. They're gonna play the Celtics again. They're gonna play the Heat, the Hawks. There's a lot of tough
that's
games.
true.
So that's the reason why I'm going with them third. And number four, I got the Cavs. I mean, I think the Knicks had a chance at a moment to catch them, but now it's kind of they're like 4 or 5 games behind. I don't think they'll catch the Cavs. And number five, I got the Knicks. I think they'll be the fifth seed. Number six, surprisingly, I was kind of having a toss up, but based on the schedules and everything, I went with the Brooklyn Nets at number six. I do think though
Interesting.
I think they'll get in at the number 60. I know it's a tight race between them and Miami, but looking at the schedules, I feel like the Nets maybe have a little favorable, and I think they'll get in, and they'll be in the first round of playoffs. And if this actually is true, they'll play the Sixers in the first round. Ben Simmons gonna play against his
He's not
former
gonna play,
team.
man.
Now I know he's actually he's injured. Hopefully we see him back on the court, man. It's also injury
Yeah.
problems with him. But yeah, that's my six. All right, so Josh, now tell me your NBA Eastern Conference teams, the play-in standing, so from 7 through 10.
Yeah. So 7, I have the Brooklyn Nets.
Mhm.
8, I have the Atlanta Hawks.
Okay.
9, I have the Toronto Raptors, and
Okay.
10, I have the Indiana Pacers.
India. Oh, interesting. Interesting. I mean, they're only a game and a half behind Chicago right now, so that's interesting. For me personally, I mean, I think almost every team we have identical. Obviously, I have number 7, I have the Miami Heat. Number 8, I have the Atlanta Hawks. Number 9, I have the Chicago Bulls. I do like how the Bulls been playing towards now more the end of the season. I think the addition of Patrick Beverly, they've been far better defensively. So I like the way they're playing now a little bit. And number 10, I got the Toronto Raptors. So those are my teams. I think Indiana's had a great season, but I think they might just miss the play-in, just barely. But they're still in the contentions for it. But yeah, that's how I look at it. Now I think this is where it's tough. This is where we're gonna have. I'm really interested to hear this one. All right, so now let's move on to the NBA Western Conference. Give me your 1 through 6 seed.
So for the West,
I want to hear this.
my 1 seed is the Denver Nuggets.
Well, that feels like a lock, but yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. My 2 seed is the Grizzlies, especially
Yeah.
with Ja returning.
Mhm.
3 seed, I have the Sacramento Kings.
Okay.
Fourth seed, I have the Phoenix Suns.
Okay.
Fifth seed, I have the Golden State Warriors.
Okay.
Now this might be controversial, but with my 6th seed, I have the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Interesting. I did not see that coming. I was hearing maybe Lakers. I was thinking Mavericks. I thought maybe throw the Thunder in. I did not see that coming. Okay. That's okay. That's your six, right?
Yeah.
That's crazy because we got literally the same exact list. I mean, number one, I got the Denver
Really?
Nuggets. Yeah, almost, except the 6 seed. Oh, so number one, yeah, like I said, I had the Denver Nuggets. I think they're locked for the number one seed. They were like 4 games ahead of Grizzlies. And number two, I got the Memphis Grizzlies. They've been playing really good basketball. Tyler Jenkins doing a great job. And number three, I got the Sacramento Kings. I mean, again, I think they're too far away from the Suns, and I don't think the Suns can catch the Kings now for that. So at number four, I got the Phoenix Suns. And number five, I got Golden State. Obviously, I know they've been struggling on the road, but now they've been one of the best teams on home court, and they're about to have 4 to 5 games in a row of home games. So I do think they're going to get that fifth seed. And at number six, I got the Los Angeles Clippers. I think they find a way to edge it out and stay in and stay in the top six to avoid the plan. And maybe Josh, I want this to see this happen, but number 4 and 5, I've wanted maybe. Also, I do think this is likely. But Suns and Warriors in the first round, sign me up. Sign me up.
You really want to see that?
I do want to see. I want to see KD versus his former team. Hopefully, both teams could be healthy because I know the Warriors are missing Wiggins right now, and obviously we wish him the best. I know he's have something personal, so we wish him the best.
Yeah.
All right. All right, so I want to hear your. Now we're gonna move into the NBA Western Conference. Who you think you're playing seeds 7 through 10?
Okay, so for me, 7,
Mm-hmm.
I have the Los Angeles Clippers.
Okay,
8, I have the Oklahoma City Thunder.
interesting. Okay,
9, I have the Dallas Mavericks.
okay,
And 10, I have the Los Angeles Lakers.
interesting.
What?
Yeah,
What?
we're very different here. Very different here. You might be surprised with who I'm gonna have right now. At number 7, I just think based on their schedule, they have one of the easier schedules remaining, and the way they've been playing. Even though LeBron's not there, I'm going with number 7, the Los Angeles Lakers. I do think they're going to be the number 7 seed for the play-in. Number 8, I'm going with the Dallas Mavericks. I think they're going to find a way to get 8th. At number 9, I got the OKC Thunder. I think they've been playing. Shout out to them having an exceptional season. I mean, they've been balling. And number 10, I put the Minnesota Timberwolves only because Cat has returned, but they have a couple of games that are going to be tough. So that's interesting. We have those are the 10 seeds. Let's see if we're right. I mean, we could be so off because the West is crazy.
Yeah, it is.
Especially the West. The West is crazy. My goodness. The West is crazy. All right, Josh, let us know the next topic.
All right, so next, topic 5, WWE, WrestleMania 39, match predictions. So first up, Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes in the WWE Undisputed Universal Championship.
Man, that's gonna be a really good match. I mean, Cody Rhodes won the Royal Rumble. And you don't have Roman Reigns. He's been champion for like over 900 plus days. I do think we talk about the moment. Like Roman Reigns has not been dethroned in a like never basically. He's been like what over 2 years. I think this is the moment. You talk about the moment. You need to find the perfect guy to dethrone Roman Reigns. I thought that guy was Seth Rollins at the Rumble. They didn't do it. I definitely thought the guy was Sami Zayn. They built the storyline so good, but they didn't do it. Now it's Cody Rhodes. I think this is the moment. He's came back. He's earned this. He's had a lot of great matches in WWE. He's built himself very good. And I think this is the moment for Cody Rhodes to win it. It's at the biggest stage of it all, WrestleMania. That's the place to do it. It's the main event, night 2. I think Cody Rhodes wins.
So next, for the SmackDown's Women's Championship, Charlotte Flair versus Rhea Ripley.
So we talk about this. Obviously, Charlotte Flair and Rhea Ripley faced, I think, when it was the pandemic time. I think it was WrestleMania 36, and Charlotte Flair beat Rhea Ripley for the NXT Women's Championship when she won the Royal Rumble. And now when she had the Raw Women's Championship, she's continued to beat Rhea Ripley. Rhea Ripley has not been really able to beat her. I feel like this is the perfect moment. Rhea Ripley, a top heel, perfect moment. I think Rhea Ripley will win. It makes the most sense. And finally it'll be like, okay, she has dethroned Charlotte Flair, and now she's getting up there as, trying to be one of the best women's wrestler in the division.
Next, the Raw Women's Championship with Bianca Belair versus Asuka.
I think for me, I'm gonna go with Asuka. I think Bianca Belair's had a good run. She won that championship, I think, at WrestleMania against Becky Lynch. She hasn't lost since. So I think Asuka coming with this kind of new persona a little bit, evil Asuka, I think is the moment she wins it. I'm excited for the match, but yeah, I'm gonna go with Asuka.
Next, Brock Lesnar versus Omos.
To be honest, when this match was announced, a lot of people were a little skeptical. Obviously, this is still gonna be cool to see, but I mean, a lot of people were expecting Brock Lesnar versus Gunther. That was what I was hearing. I was, looking forward to that kind of matchup. But just looking up this match, I think Brock Lesnar will win. I don't really know how this kind of expect this match to go. To be honest, we got two, Omos, who's a giant, and Brock Lesnar, who's, a beast, literally his name. So, yeah, I'm gonna go with Brock Lesnar.
All right, so next, Becky Lynch, Lita, and Trish Stratus versus Damage Control.
This is interesting. I'm actually gonna go. Maybe a lot of people are not gonna expect this, but I'm gonna go with Damage Control to win because I do think there was a potential report about maybe Trish Stratus turning on Lita and Becky Lynch. So I do think that maybe that might happen, but I think somehow Damage Control is gonna win this matchup. And I don't know, maybe I don't know if this is they're putting the titles on the line for this, but I think somehow Damage Control is gonna win it. I think somehow maybe we'll see a storyline between maybe Lita or Becky, or maybe Trish or Becky, something like that. So I do think Damage Control is gonna win this one.
Next, for the WWE United States Championship, John Cena versus Austin Theory.
Wow. Ooh. Man, I'm really this is I think one of my favorite matches. I'm super excited about this. Man, the promo was built so good. I mean, John Cena literally violated him on the mic, man. That guy's the GOAT basically when it comes to mic skills, one of the GOATs. For me, I just feel like knowing John Cena, we know right now he's in a situation. He's a part-time wrestler. We understand that, and he's still, anytime. We love for him to be full-time, but he got a lot of stuff he's been doing with movies and stuff. Just to me personally, I think Austin's Theory wins. If you just look at the situation, like if Austin Theory wins, that does something for his career. Cena wins or loss, it doesn't. I wouldn't say it doesn't really does anything for him because he's already John Cena. He's still one of the greatest of all time. So I think Austin Theory wins. It does something big for his career. Facing the 16-time world champion, Austin Theory wins, and it will be a big time win for him because, to me, he's Austin Theory is one of my favorite wrestlers. I think has really top heel. His mic skills are really good, and it just makes sense for Austin Theory to get this moment, win it, and move on because Austin Theory is the real deal.
So next, Seth Rollins versus Logan Paul.
This is an interesting matchup. It's interesting. I'm gonna go with Seth Rollins. I think even though Logan Paul has been very impressive in his wrestling kind of in ring in ring skill, but I think Seth Rollins makes a lot of sense. I don't think it would make sense for WWE to allow Logan Paul to beat Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins is one of the best wrestlers in the world, but you could see the edge of if Logan beats Seth, that could do something, really elevate him. But I just think Seth Rollins wins.
Next, Hell in a Cell match with Edge versus Finn Balor.
I'm gonna go with Edge. Honestly, even personally, the one thing I was a little upset about with I've been so excited about Edge's return, but they've kind of extended this Edge and Judgment Day storyline for I think far too long, and I feel like it'd be cool to see Edge face some other opponents. Obviously, Edge versus Finn Balor, sign me up. That's a great match, regardless. But I feel like they've extended this Judgment Day and Edge just for months and months and months. It's been like 8, 9, 10. It's just been too long. So I think it's time this will be the final match between Edge and just Finn Balor now with the Judgment Day. But I'm gonna go with Edge. I think it's gonna be a thriller match. We know Finn Balor is one of the best in-ring wrestlers in the world, and we got Edge, Hall of Famer. He's going Hell in a Cell. Sign me up. Got Edge.
Next, for the WWE Intercontinental Championship, Gunther versus Drew McIntyre versus Sheamus.
Honestly, I don't know who's gonna win this match. This might be the tough one to pick because Gunther's been unstoppable as Intercontinental Champion, but it's like where's the perfect moment for him to lose it? Who's the guy who could potentially dethrone Gunther? I think this is the moment. It's a triple threat match, so he doesn't even have to get pinned. If W wants to do everything as possible to protect him and not get him pinned, this would make the perfect sense. I would, sign me up for a potential Gunther versus Roman Reigns match. That'd be awesome. But I think I'm gonna go with Drew McIntyre to win. I think it makes a lot of sense. I know his WrestleMania moment, he's not been able to get it, because of you know, he got. I mean, he did main event WrestleMania, but talking about not getting his moment because he when he main evented WrestleMania, he faced Brock Lesnar for 5 minutes, and it was in an empty arena. And even though it's for the Intercontinental Champion, it's still a very prestigious title. I think he gets his moment in front of the crowd, and I think he wins this matchup.
So next, for the Fatal 4-Way Showcase, you have the Street Profits versus Alpha Academy versus Viking Raiders versus Ricochet and Braun Strowman.
I'm gonna go with Ricochet and Braun Strowman. The only thing is I'm excited to see these fatal 4-way matches, but I'm trying to understand what are they getting. Like whoever wins this match, are they getting a future tag team title matchup? Like I want to see something like that because they didn't really announce that. It's just like okay, these are just four teams fighting. Like usually WWE does something where it's kind of for something. So I'm assuming hopefully whoever wins gets to win for the compete for a future tag team title match because it doesn't really make sense just to put them there just to put them there. But obviously, I want to see these tag teams in. I'm not knocking them, but just I want to know what's the reason. Like, is there something they're getting out of it? If they're in it. It just felt like they just put this match just to just to put it out of nowhere. And obviously, I think they also have a women's one, but it's not official yet. Like, who are the four teams? But yeah, I'm gonna go with Ricochet and Braun Strowman.
So next, for the Undisputed WWE Tag Team Championship, the Usos versus Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens.
Man, it's gonna be a good match. I feel like they built the storyline good. Obviously, every a lot of people wanted Sami Zayn to win that championship against Roman Reigns, but he didn't. But they built this Uso versus Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens storyline really good. I'm gonna go with Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. I think if you're talking about the Usos, they've had this long reign just like Roman Reigns. Who's the perfect opponent to dethrone them? They built the storyline really good. It just perfect place, WrestleMania. I'm not sure if they're main eventing or not, but it's the perfect stage to do it. I think Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens dethrone the Usos and become tag team champions, and be interesting to see how they build this bloodline storyline going on. Are there cracks still in the bloodline? And also, I know this they haven't announced yet, but it's potentially Ray and Dominic Mysterio might face each other at WrestleMania. There's a I think potential chance for that. And if they do, I'm assuming Dominic Mysterio's wins. Because again, I think there's the thing with Rey Mysterio being inducted to the Hall of Fame. He didn't announce that he's retiring, but it's just it's a odd timing. So it makes it seem like, is there a potential retirement? Hopefully not. Obviously, I want to see Rey Mysterio still one of the greatest or WWE superstars of all time. So we'll see what happens with that matchup. But that's obviously not official yet. We're back with the NBA. Brown, was quoted extensively in both pieces, including a non-committal answer about his future in Boston. That kind of drew some headlines on Tuesday. So this is what he said. He said, "I don't know. As long as I'm needed, it's not up to me." Brown told the Ringer Logan. He said, "We'll see how they feel about me over time, and I will feel about them over time. Hopefully, whatever it is, it makes sense, but I will stay where I'm wanted. I will stay where I'm needed and treated correct." But Brown added that he considered, speaking directly about some of the speculation that arose from his recent comments. So he kind of talked about that again, just to make sure he was clear on what he said. So he said, "I think sometimes when people write articles, they get taken out of context at times, especially when writers have their own agenda or whatever." Brown said. So for me personally, I'm thinking about clarifying some of these things that that have been recently said. But other than that, I'm just focused on my team. I'm focused on playing basketball. I'm focused on winning games. So, what are your thoughts on this? And on a scale of 1 to 10, how concerned should Boston be? Do you think there's really a chance that Jalen Brown could actually leave Boston in free agency?
Honestly, as much as I want to say no, I feel like there actually is, bro. Because some of these stuff that I'm hearing, like it actually sounds kind of concerning. Him saying that he'll go where he's wanted, like that kind of puts the thought in your mind that there's something going on behind the scenes. I don't know because I'm just reading from a fan perspective and based on what I'm hearing and what he said, but it's not looking too good. I mean, I think he is not supposed to be 100% committed to Boston in the sense that he wants the best offer he can get, which they can give him,
Hmm.
but he also wants to be put in the best situation for himself, which I guess Boston could be, you could argue, but could other teams throw their name in the hat? Say like, I don't know, this might sound crazy. Could like, I don't know, a Bucks, a Warriors potentially. Who knows what they could do, bro? Like he might want to but I'm just saying maybe he might want to be the guy somewhere else. We don't know, but this is very concerning to me. This is very concerning. With your
What's the number you
star,
give it? What number you
your
give it?
second best player, arguably could be first best player depending on the day, saying that he wants to go where he's wanted. I don't know. Like that doesn't sound too good for me, bro. But on a scale of 1 to 10, how concerned they should be, I'm gonna say seven and a
He
half.
also said, where I am needed and treated correct.
Yeah, so that's not looking too good. And I did hear he has some issues with the fans, so that could be something too. So I'm gonna say 7.58. They should be pretty concerned because it's not looking too good right now.
So Josh, I'm kind of I understand kind of your concern about him potentially leaving Boston, and you put that in 7.5, but I'm going to 2. I know it's a low score.
What?
But the reason I'm doing it, I still think it's, a bit early. I know he's gonna be a free agent 2024, but they still got this season. They got to focus on this season and next season. But the reason I'm putting it low is because, like, at the end of the day, yeah, we understand that's his ultimately. The players are free agents. He can, you know, ultimately, if he wants to leave, that's up to him. He has that obligation. He has the ability to do that. But the reason I'm putting it so low is because I look at Boston, regardless when you look at players, you want to get paid. Boston can give him the most money. I think they'll give him the full money. And you want to have a chance to compete, and Boston has that ability to compete. Now, is he in a situation where he wants to be the number one guy? Is that some other team could give him that? So there's a lot of things, but I still think it's too early to feel that concern. I think you finish out the season, then it's like, okay, maybe it's a little concern. Then you try to offer him that. I think he's probably eligible for maybe an extension. You try to offer him an extension, and if he doesn't sign it, then there's room for concern. I just think it's too early. They just need to focus on this season. That's about it. So, in the offseason, right, the Boston Celtics reportedly discussed a trade with the Brooklyn Nets for Kevin Durant last offseason, with a package that was built around Jalen Brown, Derek
Mm.
Wright, and future draft picks. Jason Tatum and Kevin Durant are friends, with their time back together in the Team USA Olympics. Brown commented on the trade discussion in an interview with Logan of The Ringer. He said Katie and JT are friends. They was working out together and whatnot. Brown said, I was not sure what the energy was. I wasn't sure the direction of the organization was. So Brown, placed a three-way call to Stevens and Tatum. During the discussion, Stevens said he assured Brown that he wouldn't be traded. You have you just have to have a direct conversation, Steven tells the ringer of the meeting, and you just have to be able to say that is what's real. This is where you are. Obviously, you and Jason are two guys that we built the whole roster around, and every expectation is for us to come and compete together and try to be 2 games better than we were last year. This is what Brown said. He said, once we are all together and kind of talked it through, we all left on the same page, Brown said. But the actions that were taking place during that time, it just didn't seem like that was the direction that the organization was going in. I don't know. It was hard to tell at least. What are your thoughts on this?
To me, I mean, this is also very interesting because we know that. And to me, I think that Brad Stevens was lying to him. If they got an offer that they wanted and the Nets were taking, he was out of there regardless of what Brad Stevens said to him on the phone. And that's facts. I think he knows that too. And the fact that they were even considering trading him for Kevin Durant, I feel like that kind of like, you know, damaged the relationship a bit because he probably thought it's me and Tatum, we're gonna go at this again. And then with the KD stuff popping up, he's like, damn, maybe they don't value me as much as I thought they did. And that started putting the doubt in your mind. Start playing that seed, man. He's thinking about it all this season. And now when the time comes to make the decision, maybe that, you know, comes back up and he's thinking like they never even really valued me that much to begin with. So I mean, I feel like it's tricky. And whatever he does, I feel like the Celtics, like they kind of caused it because if he does leave, it's on them because they made him feel unwelcome with that trade talk, which I feel like he should have been out of. They already had a solid roster, and
But
yeah,
we
I
talked
mean,
about it before about, like maybe if they made that trade, we looking at them and being, a championship team. But obviously the Nets wanted way too much and it could deplete your whole roster. I get that. For me, obviously, like I still think it's a bit early for the concern because you still got this season. You just worry about the season. Obviously, in the offseason, I think they could offer him extension. Now, if he doesn't sign, that'd be a very interesting. Obviously, it's still room for a little bit concern. Obviously, with this, we know in the offseason they there was reported that they trade, and obviously that probably could have had a small fracture. And then the front office and Jalen Brown's relationship, just thinking like, okay, are you guys, actually, want me here? There was you actually consider trading for me. Obviously, Kevin Durant, we consider one of the best players in the world. Josh considers him the number one guy. So
facts.
um, so it's still surprising because you just played Kevin Durant that year with Brooklyn. You swept him, so and you get to the finals, so it makes a sense why run it back. Obviously, if you trade him to the Nets, first of all, the Nets it was even looking like they weren't even trying to trade him, and it was just like give us everything and we'll consider giving you Kevin Durant. So it's a tough situation because now he knows about it, and if you're telling him no, I sure that you're not being traded, then why was this report kind of even out that you were
Exactly.
trading him? So that makes it a little interesting. Definitely something fishy here. Front office definitely seems like it was not telling the truth, and obviously I think if anything, if he ultimately leaves, this could be the situation. Why? Just because of this trade report. I don't think there was
I
any
agree.
discussion about him leaving, but now because of this, maybe he's putting some doubt in his mind, like you said, Josh. So it's very interesting uh, to see. All right, Josh. Before we end, I just want to say this is interesting. We do have some time left, right? Um,
Okay.
so I want to ask you something. We never two things. We've never mentioned this. I thought we just kind of add this. Two things. First, we should probably tell we've never admitted what was our preseason pick.
What do you mean?
Like when before the season started, who did we pick preseason to win the West and win the East?
Do you remember?
You don't remember yours?
No, I don't.
Okay. So mine
I
just to
think I
tell you,
think wait, I think I had Nets and Warriors. I think.
yeah, you had Nets and Warriors, yeah. And you had the Nets, Kevin Durant getting his revenge on
Yeah,
his former
facts.
team, and that kind of fairy tale ending. You had Kevin
Facts.
Durant beating Golden State, and I had Brooklyn, right? And obviously now that
Okay.
Kyrie and Katie ain't there, we don't have them, right? But
Yeah.
coming out the East. But at the preseason, I had the Brooklyn Nets, and I had the Los Angeles Clippers. I had the Clippers winning it all. So that was interesting just to say, and also just interesting. We never told before the season started who were our top 5 players. I know who's number 1 from your list.
I'm
Do you
weak.
remember who's your top 5?
From last season?
When the season ended, the finals going into this season, like
Uh,
we kind of kept the same list. I don't know if we changed it. You want me to say mine
uh,
first? Is-
my top 5 is, well,
What was your top?
was not
Okay,
currently, but at that time
at the time
was Kevin
the
Durant
final when
1,
the finals end, right?
LeBron James 2,
Okay,
Giannis 3.
okay,
I think I had Jokic 4,
okay.
and 5 was, who was 5?
Luca,
Was it? And I believe 5 was Luka. Yeah.
no Steph after that time.
At the time, he wasn't in my list. I mean, now that's up to
Interesting.
debate, but at the time, he was not on my list.
And this was the beginning of this season, right? That was your list, right?
Yes.
Okay. So it's time to make my list. I've never said who's number 1. I've actually and number 1, man, I talked about Kevin Durant can't be the number 1, the best player.
Yeah.
And I still have him number 1. I know it's crazy because I've said that I don't think he could be number 1, but just looking at even though he had a bad series against Boston, I think he had an incredible year that year in Brooklyn. Um I just think I just didn't hold it against him with everything that kind of went out that was out of his control. He had a bad series, that's for sure, but I still think he was number 1. Obviously Giannis didn't make it, he wasn't made it too far, into postseason. Maybe that could have changed my opinion, but I put him number 1. And number 2, I had Giannis Antetokounmpo. He's one of the best players in the league, man. He could average 30 in his sleep, elite rebounder, plays both ends of the floor. So I put Giannis at 2. And number 3, and Josh, I don't know how you don't have him on his list. Steph Curry was number 3 on my list. I mean, why? He
That's
was
fair.
coming off honestly the greatest finals of his career. That game 4 he had, led the team, beat Boston, which was the tough opponent, a team that Kevin Durant couldn't figure out. Team a guy like Giannis, yeah, he was missing Chris Middleton, but couldn't beat him. Miami couldn't do it, but Steph Curry cooked them, averaged like 30 plus. I mean, they couldn't guard him, they couldn't stop him, and he was the Finals MVP. Led his team to the championship, and he was absolutely spectacular, and he kind of deserved his flowers. And number 4, I had Nikola Jokic. I mean, back-to-back MVP. He always plays good in the playoffs, just gets disrespected and hated for no reason. And at number 5, I had Luka Doncic for the run that he put his team to the Western Conference Finals, and obviously he had some good, Jalen Brunson. He had a lot of great players there, but he really, was phenomenal that season, and he, reminds Suns of that iconic photo of him just looking at Booker and it's showing like, oh, it's acting tough when you up. I don't remember what he said. So, and then I had Luka at 5. Yeah, I didn't have a LeBron on my list because obviously they didn't make the playoffs, and I looked at other guys and I saw other guys there. Obviously, LeBron is a top 5 candidate player. But this again, just to be clear, this was our list in when the beginning of the 2022-2023 NBA season, so October. This was our list in October. Now, if you ask us, we
Yeah.
both probably put Embiid in our top 5 because he's been balling.
Yeah.
He's been balling. I mean, it's crazy. So now the list could definitely be changed, but we're gonna give that list at the end of this playoffs. It's definitely gonna change because Embiid's been walling. That concludes episode 35 of the Straight Sports Podcast. Thanks for tuning in. You can follow us at Straight Sports Podcast on Instagram. We always post stories and put posts out so when we have our new episodes up. Thanks for tuning in. And will Victor Wembanyama be a Spur?
Yes.
Interesting.
Lock.
Lock,
Book it.
book it. All right, we'll see what happens there. But just remember, Knicks are always better than Nets. Pace.
Later. Peace. Thanks for listening.